Hi friends, it's Maya here, and I'm back to do a video with you guys. I thought it would be fun to do another assumptions video since those are always a fun version of a Q&A kind of, and it's always interesting to see what you guys think of me potentially. So I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any assumptions, so I'm just going to read off of that and let's get started. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. I absolutely love Skillshare. They're an amazing online learning community platform. They are built for education and learning, so it is a completely ad-free experience when you have the premium membership. Whether you're a dabbler, a pro, a hobbyist, or a master, you are creative. Discover what you can do with classes for every skill level. One of my absolute favorite courses that I recently took was the Ultimate Self-Care Playbook by Jonathan Van Ness. I absolutely love Jonathan. They have a fabulous course on self-care, how it's not self-indulgent, and all the tips and tricks you can use to plan and create a lifestyle for yourself that has more integrity and more joy and curiosity for things that maybe you forgot that you used to love doing or something new that you want to try. And it's all about organizing your life around you and making things fulfilling again for yourself. The first 1,000 people to click the link in my description box will have access to a 1-month free premium trial membership with Skillshare. It's an opportunity you don't want to miss out on. Now let's get started with today's video. You had a hard time coming to terms with whether you wanted SRS or not. Love you, by the way. Love you too. Thank you. That is a partially true assumption, I would say. It's not necessarily whether or not I wanted a good outcome for the surgery. It was more so, was the surgery right for me? You know, like, is science where it needs to be? Will I be able to have a result that is worth all of the trials and tribulations of surgery? So that's definitely something that I think is important to consider. I think that anyone should be considering all of these things because going into such a big surgery blindly and expecting the world from it is never healthy, and it's never good to set your expectations that high. So I definitely think that coming to terms with whether or not I wanted SRS, like, definitely was something I think that subconsciously held me back. Obviously, like, there's so many weights in the medical world for trans-related surgeries, especially in Canada where there's only one main surgeon that does it. So yeah, there's definitely some hesitation, I would say, but overall, I think that it was the right pathway for me. But I'll get more into that later, I think. So these two are kind of similar. They are, you enjoy helping people and you are a very nice person. Those are so sweet. So thank you for assuming that about me. I do enjoy helping people. I feel like it's one of the best feelings you get, like, in life, being able to see someone happy and thankful for whatever help you're able to give. And I feel like that's so important. I feel like that's what gives you fulfillment, you know? And I think it can happen in a lot of ways that aren't so overt. You don't always have to be volunteering or working on the front lines to help people. You can help people through your art, through your music, through all sorts of different mediums. And I would say that storytelling and sharing my story and also writing and acting and all that kind of stuff, that's in a way helping people because it is illuminating the experience that someone else may have. And that is always nice to see your journey reflected. So I think there's so many different ways you can help people. I do think that I should help people in more overt ways. And that's one of my life challenges is to always be more charitable with my time and with my deeds. I feel like what makes the world turn around is the kindness of others. So I think that I'm not as much of a helpful person as you're giving me credit for, but I think that it's something I aspire to be. Your transition has pretty much gone according to plan. According to plan. I feel like I'd have to watch one of my old videos in order to really remember what my plan was per se, but I think it has to some degree. I don't know that I was 100% on board with getting a breast augmentation at the beginning. I don't know, but I don't know. It happened. I feel like there's certain things that just are out of your control when you grow through your transition and you realize you need different things to be happy. And I think that for the most part, my transition has gone according to plan. It took a little bit longer getting there than I would have liked because I knew that I wanted to get my bottom surgery in 2014-ish, 2015. And so I had to wait like 5 years for that. But honestly, I think the waiting was important because it taught me patience and made me really sure of myself. You know, I had enough experiences with my body pre-surgery to know that surgery was something that I wanted. You want to get married? Maybe. I've always been the kind of person who has the mindset of if the right time, the right person, the right moment, all that stuff is aligned, then for sure, I think weddings could be so fun. And I think it's all about celebration of life and love and a journey, you know? And so I think there should always be reason to celebrate. I would love to one day get married and have a family. I think that would be really nice. I don't know how conventional it would be for me because obviously I'd be coming at it from a more modern perspective, whether that means adoption or whatever avenues I take. And then on top of that, I don't know if I see myself really settling down in like a suburban style home or like in the country, like kind of where I grew up. So I feel like I would want to only have that style of family if I could afford to offer a more worldly upbringing and have more opportunity for kids. So I feel like my generation is just so cautious when it comes to family. And so I definitely have that cautiousness. And with marriage as well, I think that until I feel that the moment is right, financially, emotionally, everything, then I'm going to keep waiting. But I think marriage would be really nice. And I think that would be something that would be awesome down the road for sure. This one is savage and really quite funny. You're stuck up and you hate poor people. Like, so I don't know where this assumption of me looking down on poor people comes from. I think that a lot of people think that I'm like spoiled and privileged and a basic white girl kind of vibe. And I have that kind of almost mean girl image in a sense, which I've been kind of inadvertently told throughout my transition, which is kind of sad to me really, because that's not who I am at all. And I feel like that's like a judgy perception, but hey, this is an assumption video. So honestly, I think that I should maybe be more open and honest about my history and where I come from. I am not someone who looks down on poor people at all. But that being said, I am a very hard worker and I do believe in working hard to achieve a life for yourself that you want. I actually do not come from money at all in any way, shape, or form. I've been financially independent since 18. I had to take on tons of student debt in order to even move out from my house and go live my own life. So I have been fighting to survive in this world. And to me, earning money was all about survival and it was never about having luxuries. So even being able to live on my own now and to have some nice things, it's quite strange to me because I'm just not used to ever buying things for pleasure and not for surviving, you know, like whether that's like an essential piece of furniture or whether that's food or whether that's anything like that. It's interesting to now be older and to be able to make money for myself and to have a life that I never imagined growing up. I don't come from money at all. I was actually quite poor growing up. I don't want to like play the victim story because that's not the case at all. I had a single mom who worked really, really hard to provide for me and my 4 younger sisters, but you do the math, single mom who can't even work full time. I have 4 younger sisters, so there's 5 of us. We grew up in a 2-bedroom bungalow plus an extra building on the side that was eventually refinished to have my bedroom. But it was a hard time. We struggled a lot. It was very difficult. We had no money. And so I grew up kind of in that mindset of scarcity and it was really difficult. And I feel like I could almost write a book on my life, just explaining where I came from, the trials and tribulations of all that. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm not just making up stuff. Like really, we struggled and there was a lot of hardship that I had to endure growing up. And none of that was anything to do with me being transgender. So it was very, very hard. And I feel like I kind of bury that from you guys and from people now because it's something that I struggled a lot with growing up. And so yeah, I'm definitely not someone who would ever be stuck up and hate poor people. That's just not me. That's where I come from. And I have the most empathy for people who come from those backgrounds. And based on my own experience, I know that you can get out with hard work and determination. And I think that there should be more opportunity made for people from impoverished backgrounds. Sorry to get real. You were really pretty early in your transition. That's a really sweet assumption. I look at my early transition as a fond time. It was such a scary and new frontier for me. I transitioned and announced it at the beginning of 2015 in January, and that was kind of when things weren't as mainstream, and most of the people in my life, pretty much all of them, had no idea what it even was. And so I had to be a learning experience for so many people. And I look back on my early days of my transition with fondness and endearment for who that person was, and it was hard. And honestly, I feel like that version of myself was even braver than who I am today, because when you're making those first few steps and you're living your life authentically, those are the hardest times and require the most courage. So definitely look back fondly on that. Emma's here, so if you hear background noise, that's why. But do I think I was really pretty early on in my transition? I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a shallow perspective to have. I think that everyone goes through those awkward stages where you're growing out your hair and you're trying out makeup for the first time. And it's kind of like what teenage girls go through in high school and middle school, where you're just starting to come into your own body and yourself and sense of identity. And so I definitely had all those awkward moments, but I do think I was pretty fortunate genetically from that standpoint to kind of ease into a cis presenting role for the most part, and not face too much discrimination day to day, and be able to have my solid group of friends around me that really uplifted me. The next assumption is that you have your life together, very organized, and know exactly what you want. That is so far from the truth. Oh my goodness. I've kind of been at this crossroads of what should I pursue the most? Acting? Should I pursue writing? Should I pursue, it's kind of confusing for me at this point. I need to be more organized. I literally think that I have ADHD because I struggle with long-term goals. I need to really hone down and focus on something long-term instead of just living my life day to day. It's nice, it's relaxing, but then you start to feel like you're spinning in circles and you don't have a compass or sense of direction. And then I start to envy people who have normal jobs because they have a sense of purpose and a 9 to 5 that they can clock in and out of and then relax. And then I'm like, should I be relaxing now? Should I be working now? I feel like I have no organization at the moment in my life. And so that's something I need to improve. I know. You're not the same person in real life as you are on social media. That's definitely partially true. I have obviously this bit of a facade when I'm speaking to you guys, only because I know it's going on YouTube. It's going in front of a bunch of people, anyone who wants to see it really. So I think anyone in this position would have that kind of barrier up a little bit. But genuinely, I am pretty honest on here. You maybe don't see all the dark side or all the highest highs, the extremes. I try to keep it kind of even ground, but I think that I am quite different. I'm a little bit more quirky and weird, and yeah, I don't know. I haven't shared all my eccentricities with you guys, but that's just life. I don't know. I think everyone shares different sides to themselves with different people. And so you just get one version of me. It's not false. It's not wrong. It's just the version of me that exists on YouTube. You have pretty hands.
You have pretty hands?
Yeah. Someone's assumption is you have pretty hands and feet. I'll take the compliment, even though it's kind of maybe a little bit creepy, but I will take it because I don't always feel that way. So your relationship with your sisters and friends has changed after becoming a movie star. I know, right? So I don't really consider myself a movie star. I've done one feature film and it was awesome and I got to star in it, but it's also an indie film and it was not like a glamorous experience. So it was really fun and I loved it, but I don't consider myself bougie or changed by that experience. Like sometimes I find myself hanging out with friends and I have to nudge them and be like, yeah, I just got back from Halifax. They're like, oh, why are you there? And I'm like, oh yeah, my premiere was happening. And they're like, oh, that's so cool. But it's like kind of under the radar, you know? It's not like Maya Henry arrived on the red carpet. Like, there's nothing like that. So I'm definitely still very grounded and down to earth, I think. You regret SRS. Now that's a pretty heavy assumption to make. And it's definitely not true. I lived in my body 25 years before getting the surgery, and I knew that it was not something prior to the surgery that I felt was comfortable being a part of my body. It just didn't feel like a part of me. So having nothing there would have been better in a sense. Do I feel like there's been struggles with the surgery? There's been post-surgical complications? Sure. I'm going for my 1-year post-op appointment soon. And so I'll update you guys then when I get some feedback from the surgeon and know where I'm heading in terms of recovery. But it's definitely been longer and in some ways more difficult than I anticipated. But it doesn't mean that I regret it. So that's definitely not accurate. But definitely there have been struggles, and it's all about learning to love your body and the journey through surgical recovery, because it's not glamorous. You don't just wake up feeling perfect and complete. There's a long period of time where you're like, okay, did I make the right choice? Am I like going to feel like normal life again soon? You know, when you're recovering from surgery, it's not very linear. So you go through times where you feel like you're getting better and life is great. And then you go through times where you're like, wait a minute, like I feel so uncomfortable. I'm struggling with this and this. And why am I not feeling 100% myself yet? You know? And so I feel like there's so much nuance to this conversation. I'll make a separate video on it soon when I do my 1-year post-op. You have an OnlyFans or are thinking about making one. I definitely thought about it for like a second. Like, I feel like everyone does. You hear like all these people making so much money from OnlyFans. You're like, oh my God, why can't I? You know? But it's definitely not something that I think I would feel fulfilled by. And I think that it's kind of become a toxic way for people to make money. It's definitely encouraged younger people for sure to turn to sex work, which I think is not a positive thing. I think that there's a lot of stuff we don't talk about with that world of content creation. And so it's not for me. I don't have plans at all to make that kind of content, but I always get asked, so I thought I would bring it up in this video. That's all the assumptions that I'm going to answer for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making it. If you're interested, go follow me on Instagram. Once again, if you're interested, check out the link in my description box for a Skillshare 1-month premium membership trial. You don't want to miss out. It's filled with amazing creative opportunities, a supportive, great community to help you grow and learn, and awesome teachers and courses of every skill level. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.